Hey there, how's it going? My name is Carter Srirac. I am the productive dude here on YouTube. And in today's video, I'm going to be bringing you 5 ways to use the Miro app to your advantage as a fresh beginner. When I first found Miro, I was excited, but I was overwhelmed by all of the things that you could do with this digital whiteboard, because in the past, I sort of used my wall whiteboard. I just put this huge whiteboard up on the wall and I would write on it every day, and then it would come to the end of the day, and what I would do is I'd pick up my phone and I'd take a picture of that whiteboard to cement it in my photo gallery if I ever needed to look back on it. Now Miro has replaced that necessity of having a whiteboard, and I have transitioned to a digital whiteboard. So without further ado, let's get into 5 ways that you can use Miro as a complete beginner and actually get something out of it. So number 1, you can use Miro as a daily routine board or a daily sort of schedule that you go through. Let me show you what I mean. Let's jump right into my computer. So you'll notice that right now I have August 22nd up. That's the day I'm filming this video. And you'll see that I have a bunch of different labels here for these different rows, and it almost looks like a Kanban board, except I can drag things around and it's just very fluid, kind of how my mind works. So I like to be able to change every piece of the puzzle, so it's nice that I can move anything all over this beautiful open board. And don't worry, I will show you guys how to build this once I kind of demo it first. So what this essentially does is it's just a way for me to plan my day and have all my notes for the day on one board. You'll notice that I have some more notes down here. I don't want to go too close to these notes here because these other frames here are plans for future videos. So since I'm planning them on August 22nd, everything goes on this August 22nd board. And the nice thing about this is that I can actually export these boards just by clicking here, export as image. And then once I'm done with it, I can export it as a vector and I can put that in Notion or something like that. But let's get more into how to use Miro as a way to plan your days and schedule out routines. So right here, you'll notice that I have these different cards. That's what these are. You can make a card just by hitting D and pressing down, and then you can choose the color. You can choose tags for the card, and you can just move it wherever. And then we also have these nice little sticky notes here, and I have them labeled out in order. As of right now, what I'm doing is filming the 2 Miro videos for Drake to edit. So that's one thing that I'm working on right now. And then after that, I've got a client website to work on. We have to build out a gallery on their website. And then I'm going to go in and finish my July books and get those tidied up because August is coming up next, so I need to get on that. And then after that, I have to follow up with my client, Jim, to book a meeting. And actually, I've already done that for the day. Jim and I already talked, so I'm going to move that to complete. So as you can see everything that I have complete today. I put my gaming desk together this morning. I met with Drake. I had my 45-minute jog, and actually I compromised a bit. I had a 30-minute jog, so I'm going to make that correction there. 30-minute jog. 5-minute meditation. I showered, did my daily devotional, followed up with gym, and I did my red light therapy. Okay, that's what I did when I was meditating. So I've got this big red light that I use to do red light therapy with. So those are all the things that I planned and completed, and I've got that under one card, right? And then over here I have another way to categorize tasks, right? Unscheduled tasks completed. I talked to my uncle, who is also one of my clients, kind of dual purpose, I suppose, but I spoke with my uncle for about 30 minutes, and that was kind of an unexpected call, so it was still productive and good, but it was unscheduled. It wasn't part of the things that I was going after, so I have a card for that. I also helped Jim with his proof of insurance, booked a meeting, and planned some extra videos. So originally I was only going to plan 2 videos, but I planned like 4 videos today, so that was good. And now I'm filming. So I am on task. Another thing you'll notice is I have these three things, the 3 things journal here. I really like this 3 things journal. So 3 things that I thank God for, 3 momentum wins today, like things that I can get excited about, like little milestone wins, and then 3 work goals that I want to complete today. Okay? 3 work goals that I want to complete today. Or 3 things that I want to make progress on today is like a better way to put that, actually. And this is just a good way for me to think of the things that I'm grateful for, and then think about the 3 things that have built momentum in my day already, so that I can kind of look at my wins and see what's going well. That always keeps the optimism up. And then I have 3 goals that I want to complete. Now, this is super exciting because what we can actually do with all of this is you can like make this to-do list / routine however you want it, and then you can create a template out of it in Miro. So let me show you what I mean. So if I go to my templates section in Miro and then I head over to personal, you'll see that I have a few different templates already created in here. One of them being weekly schedule. So if I hit use template, weekly schedule will pull up this template. And if I wanted to, I could do my planning within weeks. Okay, so this particular one that I had built a daily habit tracker, and I can kind of just fill this out as I go. It also has a section for what am I grateful for, so I can just simply write in here, and let's make that text a little bit smaller. I'm grateful for the sun in the sky. Okay, I'm also grateful for my family and friends, and I'm grateful for my God-given talents. Okay, and then I would go through here, and this scratch pad here would just be a place to write my notes or write whatever I want to write. And then down here on the to-do reminders, this could be an area where I do, kind of what I showed you on the last section. So just kind of create headers with these cards, and we have incomplete, and then maybe we have one for complete as well. And then under that, I would just use the sticky notes, and you can get sticky notes just by clicking on the side toolbar right there where that sticky note is. Pretty obvious, but you can also hit, if I'm just on my cursor, let's say, I can also hit N, and that will pull up sticky notes as well. So the nice thing about this is I can just click anywhere, and let's make that a little bit smaller, but I can click anywhere and then kind of just create a task, have it under incomplete for now. So task 1, task 2, I'm just going to throw some examples in here, task 3, and then as I move throughout the day, I can just drag these over to the complete section, and then I have like my morning non-negotiables here. So this could literally just be like a few things I wanted to get done in my deep work session in the morning. Okay, so this is just one example of a template. You can simplify this a lot, and I'll actually show you how to build this out and make it a template so that you can make your own. But the name is up here, so if you did want to create a template, I would just recommend like filling it out for week of, and then enter like the Monday of that week. And then if you wanted to do a whole week, you could do it on one, or you could do daily, like a daily template that's like a journal and whatnot, and you could just make it like August 22nd or whatever the day is, right? And then boom, you've got it for the day. So before we move on to the next way to use Miro, I'm going to show you really quick just how to build a daily template that can have whatever you want in it, any prompts that you want, any sort of visual cues that you want to remind you to do something. So when you open up Miro, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see all boards. You can just hit new board on your first day that you do this or whatever, and you can literally come in here and click on any of these templates that you have created, or even better, you can come into the templates library here on Miro and you can look through different ways that other people are using Miro so far and that they've uploaded for you to go ahead and take a look at. For instance, they've got this event planning one here, and this one just looks like super robust, so some of you guys might get a kick out of looking at some of these. But what we're going to do is just hit create new template when we want to create that daily template. So I'm just going to call it daily planner template, and then I'm just going to hit save changes. And now we have the daily planner template. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is just grab this frame tool right here, or click F to get a frame, and then you can just drag out a custom frame. And you can just make this your daily planner. And then from there, all you really need to do is create some cards. Okay, so these cards are just going to be like little areas. That's the best way to think about them. And this is really just like a three-dimensional Kanban board that can go up and down and every which way. It doesn't have to necessarily have like just this linear movement that you're used to with most Kanban boards. So I'm just going to put a little red box here, and I'm going to call this incomplete tasks. Or we could go even a step further and just type incomplete planned tasks. And it's ideal to actually plan these tasks out the day before. Plan tomorrow today. That's what I've always tried to live by. That's something that I learned very on from a mentor. And I just think it's a great saying to live by because it gives you structure for the next day. A lot of times when we wake up, you can be met with fear and anxiety, and it's sometimes a struggle to plan the day. So that's why it's good to do it the night before when you have an even head and you've gone through a good day, and you can basically just plan out your day and be realistic with yourself the day before. So incomplete planned tasks is what we're going to write there, and then I'm just going to hit Command C and then Command V to copy and paste that. And I'm just going to write complete planned tasks. All right, very good. It's a good next step. And then I'm also going to come over Command C, Command V again to copy and paste and complete unplanned tasks. So now we have complete planned tasks and complete unplanned tasks. So oftentimes when you're going through a day, you may have realized that a lot of times you don't actually get done everything that you planned, but sometimes things just get cropped up that have to happen. Kind of those urgent, important questions that come up. So you're going to want to document this, because even if you don't complete everything on your planned task list, at least you'll be able to see what you did get done, and you'll be able to see a track record of productivity. Because oftentimes when we create a plan for the start of the day, it's hard if we don't actually stick with that plan, because then you kind of just start beating yourself up, right? So that's why I have this complete unplanned task column. It really just helps me still visualize some of the things that weren't necessarily planned, but they were still productive and good and necessary to complete the mission that we're on. All right, so since this is a template and I haven't started with it yet, we haven't saved and exited, what I want to do is just throw in some sticky notes right off the bat. Okay, so we could do purple for morning routine tasks. So morning routine tasks. Let's just put task 1. And then let's just say we've got all these purple tasks up here. Task 1, I'm just going to do some copy and paste to get some in here. 2, 3. So we've got our morning tasks, and then maybe we have our deep work tasks, which come in the very beginning of the workday. So I'm just going to call this deep work task 1. I'm going to delete these others. And I actually usually just do 3 deep work tasks a day, 3 big goals for the day. And that's just what I've found to be a good way to start, especially when you're just getting back into a full-blown routine. It's not easy to set aside a full 8-hour day of hard work. You've got to work up to that. It's kind of a muscle that you have to train, and there's that focus that needs to be fostered. So it's good to start small and live by the principles of Kaizen. And Kaizen is basically just a philosophy about small continual improvements in your life, right? So instead of focusing on all the big gnarly goals that you have, focus on what little things you can do today to chip away at those goals, and what kind of wins can you get under your belt. So those are the type of things that we want to be thinking about with deep work. And you also want to consider your overarching goals, and try to decide what are the tasks I need to complete today to just get me a step closer. What are the quickest routes to, completing our goal, and what are the most ethical, quick, foundational tasks that we can put in place to complete our goals. So those are what deep work tasks are. And then you might have like personal tasks. So I'll just put those in orange. So then we can just stack up these sticky notes over here. They don't even need to be in any perfect order or anything like that. This is just the template. So let's just say we want to kind of condense some space here. We can stack all those sticky notes up in the template. If you want to start working with like a journaling routine, like I have here in my Miro setup where I've got these tasks. These are basically, originally, these were over here under incomplete. And then I just moved them under the journaling section and used the text to write a quick journal entry. If you have an iPad Pro, which I do, so sometimes I use this iPad Pro to actually physically write out my notes, and that's another reason that I like Miro. You can kind of cross between the notes that you have written, like physically written, and also the notes that you have in your computer that were just typed. So if you want to add a journal entry column, this is what I kind of meant before by the Kanban can be going multiple ways. You can have multiple headers on it. So I would just put like completed journal entry and then like put the date. And then your journal entry would probably just be like one of your morning routine tasks. So if you know that going into this, you can just make it part of the planner template. So I'm just going to put journal entry 3x things I'm grateful for. And then now we are pretty much ready to go with our template. Okay, so I'm going to save and exit. And now it's in here as daily planner template. So when I want to use this on a regular basis, the workflow would sort of be like, okay, it's nighttime, I'm planning for tomorrow, so I'm going to hit use template. And then once you have opened up this template, it's going to create a fresh board for you. And if you're planning for the next day, you're just going to want to enter the date for the next day. So I would just put like August 23rd, 2021. Boom, that's all I really need. And then I select preview area if I want to, and that'll just be like a screenshot of what the board is all about. I can hit done. And now that board is created and I could come in and plan these things out. So I'm no longer editing the template. I could come in here and actually write in like meditation for 10 minutes. I already had the journal entry in there because that's part of the save template. If I know it's a habit that I want to create, I'm just going to put it in there right off the bat. Why not? It'll just kind of force you to do that, and it takes a step out of rewriting it every time you plan. And then maybe I'll go on a 30-minute jog. And then maybe I have another one here, walk the dog. All right, so then I have my morning routine, and now I would kind of put in my deep work and personal tasks, maybe like 3 personal goals that I have for the day. And by the end of the day, once you have started using your August 23rd, after the planning the night before, you're going to come back in here and you're going to slowly start moving these into completed planning tasks. Or for this journal entry 3x things I'm grateful for, I'd drag it over here and I'd actually type out 1, grateful for blank. 2, grateful for food. 3, grateful for my office. I would write those things in there, and now I can see them right there with the card. Maybe I completed the jog and walked the dog. And if something comes up that I didn't have planned, I would just hit N to create a new sticky note. I click on what time of day I have that corresponding to. So did it happen during my deep work? Did it happen during my personal time? Or did it happen with the morning routine? when did this sort of distraction, if you will, come up. Distraction's a negative word, but just basically an unplanned event. And then as I kind of go through the rest of my day, I can just drag to select and pull these up the queue. And basically that is how you use this daily planner. Another way to use this sort of daily planner is not to just constrain it to this one frame that we've created, but when you go throughout your day and you want to take notes on something, just create a custom frame, just like that. You're just going to hit F and then drag the frame like that. Or you can click on the frame down here and select a pre-sized one, or you can go ahead and even just copy and paste this one and delete the stuff out of it. There's lots of ways to create a frame, but when you do have any new notes, maybe just put the name of the meeting up here, for instance, like meeting with name, and then as you are going through the meeting, you can either pull it up on your iPad and you can take notes with your magic pencil, or you can simply write notes in on sticky notes if you want to organize it that way. So note 1, Command C, Command V to paste. I feel like that's the quickest way for me to create notes. It's Command C, Command V, and I can kind of just write down notes as I go. If it does move around like that, you can simply lock this in just by highlighting the whole thing and hitting this little lock button, and then the whole thing will be locked. If I want to unlock it, I just long press, and if I want, I could even just lock the frame, and then everything within it will still move. So that is one nice way to use that. I have a whole nother video on all the different tools you can use in Miro. You can also write in here. And that brings me to the second way that you can use Miro, and that is as a system design software. Let me show you what I mean. So here I've opened up just a very basic instance of Acrobat Reader by Adobe, where I have some PDFs saved, and these are PDFs that I pulled from Miro. So as you can see, I can kind of zoom in on these and drag them around. And if I was in Miro, I could edit all of these little systems here that I've built, but basically it's just an interconnection of lines and shapes and some text to help me visualize a system. And this is overall how systems work typically. So typically there's inputs, a process, and an output, and every system happens within an environment. And if we look down here, you'll notice that there's this sort of big rectangle around this system. This system is confined by principles, standards, house rules, the normal sort of things that confine a system. So this is a system visualized as I kind of imagine it in my brain. But this serves as a useful tool because you can write down all of the inputs of your system, you can write down the process that occurs, then here you can write down the outputs, and if there's feedback present, that provides an opportunity for exponential growth or exponential regression, which I'm getting like super nerdy about this, but basically all I mean is this is just a good way to visualize ideas and systems. Here's another system. This one's a little bit simpler. So this is how I think of Notion. If you guys haven't seen my videos on Notion, definitely check them out. It'll be very useful for you in creating your second brain, if you will. But this is sort of my way that I have been using Notion, right? And I created this mind flow in Miro. So everything that we create in Notion is based around our goals, wants, and needs. And that will essentially decide which one of the two focuses we are going to go into when creating a page in Notion. So one of the focuses is just trying to collect as much data about our life and through notes and through different areas of our life as possible, recipes, any collections you might have. That is one prong of Notion. The other prong of it is productivity and getting things done. And our format for that is projects, which have tasks, and resources. Resources are also something that we're constantly collecting. So this system works well together, and you can see that visually right here. Everything leads to tasks and resources, right? That's where all paths lead eventually. So then I end up with a bunch of resources, and a list of tasks that I should be completing. So this is a system. Let me show you more in depth how you can build systems using Miro. So we'll continue with our August 23rd page here. Let's just imagine that this is our day. I'm going to create a new frame because, well, I just had a new idea for an awesome system that I want to create. So what I would do is I just hit F for frame, hit custom, and then boom, we've got a new frame. I'm just going to call this system, okay? And I'm going to show you guys we're basically just going to rebuild that diagram that I just went over and showed. So in the process, you'll be able to see how you can use Notion to create your own versions of this, and it doesn't have to follow this exact structure. I'm going to lock this in here, and then using shapes, I'm going to draw out the system. So you'll see that the square was conforming as I was kind of dragging it out, right? That's because I'm holding shift right now. But if I wasn't holding shift, you could move it all over the place like this, and it wouldn't be confined to any sort of proportions, if you will. So once that's built, I can also hold shift and keep it on these particular proportions as well. So that is kind of a neat way to look at shapes. And if you wanted to, you could do all kinds of different shapes here. You'll see if you go all shapes, there's tons of different shapes in here that you can create in Miro. And then if you hit the border style, you can even change the border style, the thickness of the border, the opacity of the border, which I don't typically mess with a whole lot, and also the color. So we could have the square here, which represents our inputs into a system. So I'm just gonna put some basic text right there. We're going to label it accordingly, inputs. And then the next thing you're going to want to do if you want to connect a node with a connector or like a line, this is typical in what you would want to do if you were designing a system, is you're going to click on this little arrow down here, and you can select either just a normal line or an arrow to kind of explain how the system works. So if I am hovering over this L tool, so if I hover over this box while having the connector line out, what I can do is just start dragging, and it will create an arrow that basically just pops out of nowhere, and you can actually edit these arrows just as you can edit shapes. Okay, so let's say we want it to be pink, and if you want it to, you could be rigid corners or like curved corners. You could do dotted lines or dashed lines. You could do a normal straight line. You can change the thickness here. So that's very nice. But the cool thing about this is now that I have this arrow on this box, it's kind of stuck to the box, if you will. And if I want to, I can go and create another box. I'm just going to hit Command C and Command V to paste this one that I already have created. And what you can do is you can click on that line connector, and then you can connect it to this box. So now when this box moves, the other one moves, right? So if you remember right, we have inputs, and then that goes to a process. And then if I Command C, Command V on that other line that we already have created, I can just connect it right here. I'm going to do Command C, Command V again to pull in this next box. And we're going to connect that. And at a very basic level, if I highlight all this, I can make it bigger. At a very basic level, this is how you would use Miro to create system architecture or to kind of plan a system. And when it comes to systems, there's a lot more you have to learn, I would say, about like how to create a successful one, unless you've already studied this sort of stuff. But like typically you want to be thinking about the inputs that are going in, and if they have a lot of leverage, meaning like are they moving the needle? Is it little input and you're getting exponential output, or is it like going the reverse, like you're exponentially regressing based on your inputs? And just to make this a little bit more concrete and to give you an idea, one of the ways that I am currently using inputs is by uploading to YouTube. So uploading YouTube videos is an exponential way to leverage connections across the world, right? I couldn't just go out and like contact as many people as I'm able to get in front of on YouTube, one by one by one by one, but I can film a video and have a digital presence that a platform like YouTube basically launches for me. Or another one is like creating ads. You can leverage the AI or the algorithm that somebody has created to optimize your ads and get them in front of the right people on a platform like Facebook. Or I can eat healthier. You know, this one will exponentially increase your productivity, your focus, your cell growth in your body, which basically leads to everything else. And everything in the world is really a system. So if you look at it this way and you start diagramming these things out, you can kind of see why you're getting the outputs that you're getting. Usually garbage in is garbage out. So you want to think about what you're putting in, what is the process of that when it comes into the system, and then what are you getting out of the system. And usually if you're not happy with your results, you have to look at the beginning, you have to look at the front and see what's going on, see what sort of things you're actually doing, and try to figure out what's holding you back, right? So that is why I like to use Miro for systems. It's also very nice because I can kind of drag these things around, and you'll notice that text doesn't stay with this box, but if I wanted to, I could click the box, I could hold shift, click the text, and now they're both selected, and I can actually group the objects so you can move them around together now, right? So that's kind of nice. I can do that for each of these. So just as a bit of practical advice, outside of teaching Miro, I would say try your best to do things that leverage exponentially in your favor, rather than doing things that are exponentially regressing you. Like something that's exponentially regressing you might be like buying a TV, right? If you buy a TV, it's going to exponentially regress you unless you use that TV to improve your life or like grow as a person, or maybe watch documentaries or something like that. Or if it's bringing you joy and you have like a healthy relationship with it, it's not bad. But if you think about it, if you buy a TV, it's money out of your bank account, then you have to watch this TV, and oftentimes the things that you're watching on TV are probably not really going to push you any further in life. So it's really just like an exponential way to regress backwards. And maybe it's not exponential, it might be a little bit more of like a linear progression, but at the end of the day, you're going to want to just look out for those things, and hopefully that makes sense on how I think about systems and how I use them in Miro. All right, now moving on to number 3. The third way that you can use Miro is as a way to vote on issues or weigh out pros and cons. So let me show you what I mean by that. There's lots of ways that you can do this, but I'm just going to create a frame to illustrate one very quickly for you. So let's change the name of the frame to voting. Okay. And what we can actually do is use a traditional Venn diagram right here in Miro. By creating the shape, holding shift, and then dragging out, we can create a perfect circle. And then I'm going to come in and change that to a solid line. I'm actually going to lower the thickness all the way and make the opacity 0% by hitting this little cross-out button on the border. And then we're just going to select like a color. And then I'm going to turn the opacity down on that to like 30. Okay, so we've got one color for one topic, and then I can hit Command C and Command V. And there I have another circle. So I can just drag that out, and using these guidelines that Miro kind of provides, these lock-in lines, I can find where it looks nice, change the color of this one to like a yellow. Usually it's nice to use colors that have a good mix. So like blue and yellow create green, so that's kind of like nice. It's not creating some gross brown color in here for the Venn diagram. So that's kind of a cool way to do it. And then what I would do is just hit text, and you're gonna have like option 1 here. And you can also have option 2 here. And then you would literally just use like sticky notes or whatever to stick out pros and cons of something, or similarities, commonalities, things that are different. This is the best way to do it. You just place sticky notes anywhere on the Venn diagram, and then it will help you visualize two options, and it'll also help you see what they have in common. And then even better, if you want to, you can even enable voting. So once I start this session, they're basically going to be able to vote over a 10-minute period of time, and there will be 5 votes per person so that they can actually, like if there's multiple options, they could choose, but we could make this one if we wanted to as well, and then start. And then anyone who is on the board, since it's just me right now, it's not going to allow me to vote, but anyone who is on the board will be able to vote on either option 1 or option 2 if I select the right area. So let me just select this frame, for instance, and then hit done. And now we're just focused on this frame, and I could hit start now, and essentially we'd be able to vote on the different options for 10 minutes, and at the end it would give you a summary of what everyone voted for. All right, so this next one may come as a surprise to you because so far we've been very rational and analytical using Miro, but this one will allow you to be super creative. So the next way that I've been using Miro is as a mood board. So let me just show a few examples of some mood boards. So here's a good example of a mood board for a new website. These were just some elements that got put in the mood board to kind of show the style of the website that we were going for, the style of the art we want to use on the website. So you kind of see, if you zoom in, that, you know, multicolored, kind of like wanted this blueprint style, and also wanted kind of these line looking, kind of this line art look. So that just gave a good idea of basically how to style a website. But you could use a mood board for anything. You could use a mood board for a house. When I was looking at getting a home, I actually found a house that I was really interested in. So I basically sketched out the kitchen here and pulled in some images of the current kitchen. And then I pulled in some goals for, you know, what it could come out to. You know, we could have like a retro, or it could be like mid-century modern, or it could be an industrial wood kitchen. But I just pulled all these images off of Houzz and basically put them all right here like it's my own little Pinterest board, but it's just a good way to kind of visualize things, right? We got the green bedroom, and then I had never planned for the other rooms, but like we got to planning for, you know, the type of bedroom that we want to go for. So not only is the mood board nice for planning out a website or a brand, it's also nice for planning out how you want a house to come together, for instance. So one of the really nice things about Miro is you can click on these 3 little dots down here, and if you type in Unsplash in the apps section, you can actually click Unsplash and it will provide you with a bunch of free images. So let's say we were going for like a blue mood, we could pull in this here. Like, let's just say like a blue luxury kind of mood. That's what this is going for right now, I feel like. So I can just drag that in and size it up. And by the way, when I'm zooming in and out, I hold down Command and then I use the scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out. If I don't hold Command and I just do the scroll wheel, that just goes up and down, just so you know. So it will zoom wherever your mouse is, basically, when you're doing the Command scroll. All right, so, and then H, of course, is to go to the hand and drag. V is to go to the pointer. So those are some good shortcuts to know. The next thing that I would want to do is just go to Unsplash and continue finding blue images. So I would just type in like blue, and then if there was something that aesthetically kind of fit into what I was going for, I could drag it in, size it down, and that would help out a lot to kind of start shaping a mood that I'm going for. So you can get these images from pretty much anywhere you want, but Unsplash is a way to do it just natively right here in Miro if you don't want to go out and sort of find other websites to get these from. Some other places that you can look for images are Pinterest, House, if you want to do like a house planning thing. House has some really good ideas if you just search on there, like for kitchens, for instance. And then once you click on one, it'll start to show you similar pictures or pictures that were taken in the same house. So this is kind of nice, and you can literally just click on them and you can save the image, or you can hit on Mac Shift Command 4 to grab a screenshot, and then you could just literally pull this in. If it's not something that needs to be high fidelity, you can literally just drag this across tabs all the way over to Miro, and then I'm gonna come out here because this is a massive image and just make it a bit smaller, a bit more manageable. So we've got Unsplash, you can go on House, or you can use Pinterest, or you can even use Giphy to pull in different GIFs. I will say that Giphy isn't like the best site to use if you're going to use for commercial work. Same with House or Pinterest. If you want to stick with like commercial work, or you're building a website for somebody, just stick to Unsplash, or you can use pexels.com, Pexels.com. And they have got some great videos and photos over here that are all like free stock photos that you can use. Now for the fifth and final way that you can use Miro, I'm going to go into how you can use Miro as a wireframing tool. So whether you're a web developer, or you're just a freelancer or a personal brand who is trying to navigate through the digital age right now, you're going to need to understand how to plan a successful web experience for a user. So that's where wireframing in Miro comes in. So if you want to, you can actually click on these three dots, and then if you start typing wireframe, you'll get this wireframe library. And if you want to, you can actually make it a staple app right here with your other apps that are already pre-selected. I can just drag that in there, and then boom, now I have my wireframe library here. So when I click on that wireframe library, I can pull in some different components. So if I want to, I could just drag in this phone, for instance. I could drag in the tablet, and I could drag in the browser. So this is a good way to get like the desktop experience, the tablet experience, and the phone experience all showing on one screen. And then from here, you can literally just go in and very roughly like add some text here and there. You can change between some of the fonts that Miro does offer. They don't offer a ton of fonts, so that's why this isn't like a full-fledged wireframing software, but you can do most of the things that you would need to do for planning a website right here in Miro. So if I wanted to, I could just write out like heading 1 text, and then let's just say underneath that, I wanted to put in another text area. I could just make that a bit smaller and call it subheading text below, and then just drag that out. And you can also pull in things like buttons. So if I wanted to pull in a button, there we go. And I could change the state from disabled to enabled. You can change the style of the button between a solid, a line, or just a text link like that with a line under it. You can even select an icon. They even have a bunch of icons in here. And at the end of the day, if you can't find enough icons on Miro, I would suggest looking at the nounproject.com. These are like the cheapest, highest quality icons that I have found so far. And I just pay for, I believe, this yearly Noun Pro Unlimited individual subscription. And then from here, you can go in here and you can get different themed icons. If I just type something along the lines of, let's just say, nature, then it will show all of the icons that are tagged with nature, but it'll also show you all the collections of icons that are tagged so that you can get similar styled icons. So these sketched ones here, they're all going to be very like similar so that you have a theme going on. So these are nice for planning websites out and whatnot. I could also come in here on these hand-drawn ones. And just a tip, if you're going to use icons in web development, it's often a good idea to stick with like bolder elements if they're going to be smaller, and then thinner elements if they're going to be larger. The bolder ones typically look a lot better when they're small than like the thinner ones will. So let me just show you like an example. Like if I go like heart, it'd be good to go with just like a solid heart and not something like this that has all these details in it and like multiple things going on. It's best to just go with like the solid big one, and that's what'll show up the best. If you wanted to pull something off the noun project, you could literally just click on it. You can save it as an SVG or a PNG, and you can also change the color. If you want the background to stay transparent, just leave that on transparent. But then I can hit SVG, save. I can go back over here and just drag that straight into Miro, and then that will give me a nice SVG that I can position in here however I want. There's even like menu if you pull in this menu here. So you can kind of plan out how you want your menu to look, and even what you want your selected link to look like. And then again, remember that you can always go and type in Unsplash. You can find some images on here and you can drag them into your own website and just get an idea of how this website's going to look and how it's going to flow. So that is basically how to create wireframes in Miro. Now, one other way that you can utilize these wireframes is by like showing the phone screen 1 and then where each call to action will take the user through this process. So like user journey step 1, and then I could hit Command C, Command V, paste that phone, and then have user journey step 2. And if you want, you can come in here and change what the screen will look like. Maybe there's a photo over here instead, and it has some different text. Basically, you'd have this page, and then you could connect this to a button. So this button down here, let's say, goes to this page. So I could literally just connect this like so. So now that button is always linked here, and it's a good way to plan. And then if I have another button a little bit further down the page, maybe that goes to a different step. So I could create yet another phone, and this might be step 2, option 2, right? And I can paste that line, connect it to the button, and connect it somewhere to this option 2. So now you get this nice flow chart when you're coming in to design the page, and you can see what your entire user journey looks like throughout the entire process on a mobile phone. Then you might go through and you might design it on tablet, and you might design it on desktop. But the nice thing about Miro is it's an infinite canvas, so you literally never run out of space. I have gotten some pretty big boards started that do make me lag a little bit, but with my MacBook Pro 16-inch, I haven't really ran into a lot unless I've tried to actually stress test Miro and put like a huge board together. One way to keep this kind of under control is just to create these daily boards that I was kind of showing you guys right here. That's the best way that I've found to keep the lag under control. If your board starts getting huge and you have like a full week of notes in one board, or you have a huge project in one board, you might notice that some people on the board will lag. And if you have a decent computer, you probably won't see any issues, but those are just some tips to utilize that canvas, that infinite canvas, but also don't abuse it. I thoroughly hope that you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think of the new setup overall. So far, this is my first video in the new apartment, and I'm liking it so far. It's pretty simple. I've got the Govee Glide in the back, so that's pretty cool, right? It can actually do quite a bit. I'm liking this too here. It's a great addition to the office. And the way that the plastic on the light is set up is it's basically like kind of opaque. So the light comes through like a softbox look instead of coming through that like just harsh bright light that you get from some of those light strips that you might pick up. They only let you buy like one Govee Glide per order on Amazon at least. So yeah, I would check these out if you want to add them to your office or your apartment or whatever. It's a really nice smart light. Anyways, I'm done with the tangent. If you would like to, please subscribe. I make videos like this on a pretty regular basis. And if you did enjoy this video, please like it and leave a comment below letting me know what you are going to use Miro for next. Thank you so much and have a great productive day.